Let's test this out. Let's test this out. Good. Just get myself up on my little screen there. Get myself up on my little screen there. Get myself up on my little screen there. Get myself up on my little screen. Okay. Okay. All right. Just get my cockpit implements ready for the flight ahead. Because it's very important that we have everything lined up. Welcome, one and all, to another unexpected but not unwelcome, to some at least, another Captain Crofto Flights of Fear, provided to you by Ultimo Airways. The best aircrafts out there, guaranteed to scare you witless with tales of morbid curiosity. And much besides. So, as you can see today, and for my fans, I've even got a background there of my cockpit, so you can actually see the cockpit now. Doesn't it look absolutely fantastic? And yes, overnight I've developed somewhat of a new accent too, because in the pilot of Flight Sophia, I had to endear myself to a certain audience. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm being who I want to be. This is who I am. And as Manny McCutcheon once said, this is my perfect moment. Yeah, I may be on the other side of the sea, of the ocean, but I still know that little ditty number there. Yeah. Anyway, as you can see, the weather today is not great. A little bit wet outside. Visibility not the best, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As you know from the last Flight of Fear, I'm an expert pilot, got all my badges. Stood in for Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick! And today, we've got another story, another morbid story to explore. This one, following up from the Nutty Putty Cave disaster, which actually turned into a disaster as the plane actually Top Gun Maverick, Snowy McCool Gaming. Welcome to Captain Crofto's stream. We're just settling in here. Make sure you buckle in there, son. Buckle your ass in, because we is about to take off. Anyway, here's the cockpit. As you can see, even as expert pilots still get our little notifications just to remind us of the cockpit controls. That's good. You make sure you buckle in. The rest of the passengers, the air hostesses are sat down. They can't help you now. You're going to have to wait for your whiskey. You're going to have to wait for your WKD or whatever the hell it is you've been drinking, boy. Because we's taking off. Here we go. So, as is often the case, we're going to get ourselves into the air first before we delve into the conversation of the evening. I hope you all are having a nice evening. I hope you all are looking forward to this flight. The weather, as I said, is not great. Just get my... yeah. It looks like the wheels want to stay out. That's fine. That's a technical glitch that happens from time to time. It helps if we have to land a bit early. Hopefully we don't need to. But we'll worry about that at a later date. So I'll just turn my Ultimo flight around here. Sponsored by Emerald Harbour Air. That's our sponsor, but these this is an Ultimo Crofto flight. Don't let the vinyl advertising there fool you any differently. I own my own business. These are my own planes, aircraft. Okay, so I haven't actually said where we've taken off from or where we're going to. That's because that's part of the story. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the Flights of Fear, to make sure we take your mind off those Sunday scaries, let's replace them with another set of Sunday scaries. Sunday scaries that are going to make you poop your pants. Because if you were in these situations, you would be pooping your pants. In fact, in this situation in particular, there we go, let's get those wheels up. You'd poop your pants, but there'd be only so much capacity to do so. Because the space that you would be in, much like Nutty Putty Cave, would be extremely limited. But what's even worse is you would have 3 other people there watching your ass. Because you'd be crammed into a tiny little submarine. That's right. We are talking tonight about the Titan submarine disaster. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. It was in the news quite prominently in recent times. In fact, to my good friend, Ernie Balsack, who has provided plenty of research on this topic. He deserves a shout out. He doesn't stream, but it doesn't matter. He's getting the credit he deserves here right now. So, where am I flying to, folks? And where have I flown from? So we've took off from Halifax International Airport. That's right, Snowy McCool. Props to Ernie. He deserves it. Ernie Balsack. We are flying from Halifax. That's not Halifax in England. This is Halifax in the US of A. In fact, we'd even say potentially Canada. I don't know the geography of the place. I know it's in Canada, but I don't know if it's a Canadian territory. Regardless, it's in that general vicinity. We're taking off from Halifax, and we are on our way to... The name of the destination escapes me right now. They don't tell me that. All I know is it's got Jacob in the name. And that's where we're going. Oh, thank God. You'd have no wings if it was UK Halifax. That's right. That is absolutely right, my son. So, we are flying this way because we are going to actually we're going to go by the area where this submarine, the Titan submarine, met its grisly end with 4 passengers. We won't be flying directly over the site because it's actually way, way, way out in the middle of the ocean, to the point where we'd be flying for several hours, perhaps even a day. And I'm sorry, but I ain't got time for that. I got stuff to do. I gotta land this plane and get back to business, which is my own business and none of your business. Because I do much more than just fly planes. So we are flying to the actual location where Titan submarine departed. And so, if we want to get a bit of background context on this whole situation, it was in, obviously, 2023 last year, and the 18th of June, when, you know, the Titan submarine slipped beneath the cold waters of the Atlantic, the North Atlantic Sea, which was meant to be a sightseeing tour for 3 passengers and the submersible captain, I guess you'd call him. But ultimately it would reach the depth as a wreckage. Unfortunately, it would implode and of course immediately kill. Not even 4, actually. It was 5. It was 5 individuals on board. Hell, 5 people locked in that pressure cooker of a unit. So you got to ask yourself why. Why would anybody want to get in a tiny little submarine and drift off into the ocean with 4 other people pretty much on top of each other? to the point where, yeah, if you were pooping your pants, everybody else would know about it pretty much at the moment that it was happening. Why would anybody want to do that? Well, as is the case with this stream right now, we all have a morbid fascination with death. And while we don't wish death upon others, although there is exceptions to that rule, of course, I wish a grisly death upon those people that are into trophy hunting, for example, those sons of bitches that think it's big and clever to go out to Africa and shoot giraffes and lions and tigers and take photos with them. Those people I would quite gladly put out of their misery because they offer absolutely nothing to society. But aside from those, and then the obvious, those type of people that end up on death row, apart from those, we don't wish death upon anybody. But when disasters happen, we do take an interest. And I can't explain why that is, but it's just there. Some more than others. Hell, I do. I take an interest in it. But at the end of the day, we all watch films, we read books, play games that have been inspired by disaster to some extent or another. And in this instance, the event, the activity, whatever you want to call it, is the Titanic disaster. And we all acutely familiar with that. The ship that collided with an iceberg. Excuse me, that's a bit of the whiskey taking a hold there. Don't worry, I can fly with a clear head, even with a couple of whiskeys down. You don't want to worry about that. And while we're passing over these lovely green fields and clouds, I just want you to take all this in. Even the storm clouds. It's all beautiful in its own way. Of course, we'd all want sunshine and prettiness, but sometimes it's a bit like this. It's a bit chaotic, a bit like the Titan submarine. So, this Ocean Gate, there was a company called Ocean Gate, and it was set up by a gentleman called Stockton Rush. And Ernie Ballsack assures me that's his actual name, Stockton Rush, which is of a particular interest to those from the northeast of England, because there is an actual place called Stockton, and let me assure you, you don't want to visit that place unless you need to. But this gentleman goes by the name of Stockton Rush. He had a background in, as you'd expect, aviation, but he had a very laissez-faire, lax attitude to designing submersibles. And when questioned on this, Stockton would simply say, "It stifles innovation. Let me build it how I want to build it. I don't care if it's held together with duct tape and chewing gum. I'm doing it my way." And hell, he did. And health and safety be damned, is all I could say on that. So in 2009, he formed Ocean Gate, which would be the organization, the business that would oversee the construction of the Titan submersible. And as I said, he had no qualms about the safety implications of custom building a submersible so that he could take advantage of the morbid curiosity, because again, that's what it is, of people who want to visit the wreckage of the Titanic on the ocean floor, because there's millions of people that are interested in that. You only have to go on YouTube and look at videos of the Titanic sinking, and hell, I've done it. We've all watched the Titanic film, James Cameron, who in fact had many comments on this incident as well. But yeah, Stockton was a bit of a maverick when it came to rules and regulation, and he managed to get quite easily around safety regulations. I'm pretty certain these safety regulations will be quite enforceable now, considering what happened. but he claimed he was operating in international waters, and so he could pretty much avoid the stringent gaze of US specific regulation. But even by 2003, you won't be surprised to hear that, based upon previous expeditions, the Titan submersible actually had a checkered history of malfunctions, of incidents, and some experts pretty much said, this is a goddamn accident waiting to happen. And is it any wonder? If you go online and look at some of the videos of news reports that have looked at this submersible, and yeah, we are entering quite a foggy area here, so I do apologize, passengers. The view isn't great right now, but you just sit back and listen to my voice. If you want to take 40 winks, you go ahead. That's fine by me. I'm not precious. You just enjoy yourself. Put your feet up. You can take your seatbelts off now, by the way. The air stewards are coming up and down the aisle serving out tins or whatever the hell you want. Specialty today, those WKD or whatever the hell it is that Snowy McCool Gaming was drinking the other night to get himself through amnesia, the dark descent. Because hell, we all need a drink to get through that. So yeah, the most obvious, that's it, unbuckle your ass, boy. The most obvious, immediate indication of this submersible not being ideal was the fact that it was controlled by a Logitech gaming controller. This supposedly top-of-the-line submersible that could go deep into the ocean. Yeah, it was Logitech. Not even an official Xbox controller. We're talking second-rate eBay. Stockton Rush controlled the submersible with a Logitech gaming controller, which personally, if I had visited the submarine and I saw this guy waving around a goddamn flimsy plastic controller and he said he was going to take me down to the Titanic with this, I'd be like, hell no, son! Hell no! And get my ass out of there. But for some reason, it appears that I have more brain cells than some of the billionaires out there. Because even despite all this money, all this wealth, they ignored these clear, what I would call red flags. In fact, what experts would call red flags. Even the likes of James Cameron, who I've mentioned before, who directed, obviously, Titanic, but Avatar and Terminator and all these massive, huge movies. James Cameron has been into the infamous Mariana Trench, and he has visited the Titanic wreck previously. He criticised the use of carbon fiber on the Titan submersible because he simply said it didn't have the strength to take the pressure, and ultimately he was right. So as I was saying, we won't directly fly over the Titanic wreckage because it would take too long. But if you were to get in submersible on a good day, on a clear day, it would get you from where we're going, which is Jacobs something or other. I'll tell you what it's called when we're closer. It would take you a couple and a half hours on a good day to an hour and 40 minutes. But once the Titan submarine set off in June last year, it was pretty much after an hour and 40 minutes that contact was lost. So you're going to ask, who was on the Titan submarine? Who was dumb enough? And I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing. Of course it is. We could all criticize, but goddamn, as I was saying, it was pretty obvious. You only have to go online and look at the videos of this thing and look at Stockton Rush and the stuff he's coming out with to see that it wasn't right, and it already had a history of malfunction and not working properly and abandoned expeditions. But yet, a collection of millionaires and billionaires felt it was appropriate to to, you know, to bought this submersible and felt that it was an appropriate event to take part in. And so the gentlemen on the submarine, because they were all gentlemen, there was no females on the submarine. So obviously you had Stockton Rush, who I've mentioned was the proprietor, the leader of the Ocean Gate business, and, you know, the main captain of the operation. You then had Paul Henry Nagelay, who was 77. Stockton Rush was 61, by the way. You had Hamish Hardin, 58, millionaire. 58 years old, but a millionaire. You had Shahzada Dawood, 48 years old, billionaire. And you had Shahzada's son, Suleiman Dawood, 19 years old. But Stockton Rush himself, he would describe himself as a danger enthusiast, which is fine for him, but perhaps not so good for his passengers. In terms of how much it costs to go on this submarine and attempt to visit the wreckage of the Titanic, we're talking at least $250,000. That's right. That's more than a goddamn season ticket to the Seattle Seahawks. $250,000 to get your ass in a submarine to take a look at to have a look at the wreckage of the Titanic. That's a lot of moolah. That's a lot of scratch. Oof, ain't worth it, says Snorri McCool Game, and that's right. I tend to agree with you, sir. I completely agree with you. Now, some would say the price of this flight itself is a bit extortionate, but come on, you ain't gonna die on this flight. We might brush with danger, but I've got you. I've got you. As I spin the drone around Ultimo Airways, again, I do apologise, it is very foggy right now. There is a bit of sunlight, but it's hidden by the fog. There ain't nothing I can do about that, so again, just sit back and listen to my voice. So yeah, $250,000 for a ticket to potentially get yourself killed. And why the hell not? So, as expected, once the Titan submarine had departed and made its way to the Titanic wreckage, contact was lost after about an hour and a half, and then, as James Cameron alluded to, insinuated, or downright argued, the carbon fiber elements of the submersible pretty much failed catastrophically, and as a result, decompression would have took milliseconds. And Ernie Balsack says that the occupants of the submarine wouldn't have had no idea what was about to happen because the speed of this decompression would have just been milliseconds. But that's not what I'm interested in here. Just like the Nutty Putty Cave disaster, where I want passengers to imagine being stuck for hours on end in that little crevice. This time I want you to imagine that you're on a submersible, a tiny submersible in the middle of the ocean. You've lost contact with all help, and you're slowly drifting to the bottom of the ocean. And now you know death is imminent. But you don't know when or how. It could come at any point. And you're on the submersible with 4 other people, and you're all looking around at each other, and you're like, this is the end. And at any second, you're just about to get completely decompressed. And I can't even imagine what the hell that looks like. the amount of pressure and what would happen once the submarine cracked open. I guess it would be like a black hole, a supermassive black hole consuming everything around it, and self-implosion. How would you feel in that situation? How would you feel in that situation? What would you say to your fellow passengers? And of course, at this point, you've been on a submarine for 3, 4, 5 hours. Nerves got the better of you. You're going to need to go to the toilet. You'd be very concerned. Hell, that goes without saying, Snowy McCool Gaming. But psychologically, I just want to imagine. I can't imagine it. It would be possibly one of the worst situations to be in. You've got the knowledge that, hell yeah, it'll be over quick. But then it's the wait. What do you talk about? Do you pray? If you're not religious, do you still pray? What do you do? And again, to appease that morbid curiosity, it'd be interesting to see just what the hell was going on in that submarine before the inevitable happened. So according to Ernie Balsack's research, in terms of the human brain, it is theorized that it would take at least 45 seconds to a minute, meaning that those on board were aware of the situation was possibly fatal, especially if they heard the cracks and you could hear that the submarine was basically on the way out. So I guess you would maybe have some awareness, but the actual motion of being consumed, being decompressed would be over in milliseconds, so you wouldn't be aware of that, I guess. But what's interesting about this is that the submarine actually had 96 hours of oxygen on board in terms of the equipment. So as you'd expect, a search party was launched. But it was unlikely that they was ever going to be found in time because of the sheer depth of which the submersible was delving to. And of course, when it was discovered, only fragments were left. It's also a fact that human remains were found. Now, in terms of what condition these remains were in, I'd only like to take a guess, but you were talking maybe minute particles, bits of fiber, little bits of bone. It won't be much. Again, I implore anyone that's that way inclined to have a look at a submarine implosion under that much pressure, and you'll get the idea. It's probably one of the ugliest ways to go, but again, at least you wouldn't know what's happening. At least you wouldn't know what's happening. So with that in mind, we've got a bit of the background context. But you got to ask yourself the question then. If the submarine was so obviously unfit for purpose, Stockton Rush was so clearly living life on the edge. He'd made it to 61, so he'd obviously had good innings, as the saying goes in England. But if you were those other passengers, you'd pay $250,000 for a ticket. If you were Hamish Harding, if you were Shahzada or Suleiman Dawood, What made you believe that this was a good idea? Was the curiosity to see the Titanic so much so that you would risk your life? Hell, I'm nowhere near a millionaire. I'm not even, you know, I'm just not. I'm not as wealthy as I come across. Okay, I might have a jetliner here and a couple of jets lying back home, but I ain't a millionaire. I still got to work this. I still got to fly you passengers from one place to the other. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't need to. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near that submarine. So what inclination was it for these individuals, these billionaires and millionaires, to think it was a good idea? Can you answer me that? Anybody? Is it really worth it? And I want you to contemplate that while I just take a moment here to make sure everything's in order, because we're going to be landing soon in our destination. In terms of the geography of the area, so to our right, where the sun is currently shining down upon us, if you take a look out over there into that vast abyss, that's where, somewhere, the Titanic wreckage is just over there yonder. That's where the Titan submarine disaster took place. And you may be wondering if Ocean Gate was open for any liability or, legal challenges as a result of this from the families of those that boarded the submersible. Stockton Rush, he was a maverick, but he wasn't. I was going to say he wasn't dumb, but he was using a Logitech controller, so I don't know. But he still had the wherewithal to, get these passengers to sign a 4-page, 4-page waiver, which interestingly mentioned death 3 times on the first page. Hell, I shouldn't laugh, but come on. Again, red flags all over here. Red flags all over the place. He doesn't seem too clever, says Snowy McCool Gaming. Brother, I'd wager the majority of the other passengers agree with you. Hell, give that man a free WKD drink on the house. For y'all honesty. We appreciate y'all. Just gonna pull around a bit here just to make sure she's in line. Just getting a few little pilot tips there from the drone. I ain't sleeping today's. You ain't, son. Oh, look at that. We've gone through that little morbid tale of the Titan submersible, and we've come out the other side where it's nice. But hell, despite ridiculing these individuals and Stockton Rush and Henry and Harding and the Daywoods, I don't wish them ill. I hope they're on the other side somewhere. I'm not religious, but hell, I hope they're on the other side somewhere, and perhaps what we're seeing here is a little indication that they're somewhere else and they're happy. That's good to hear that you barely even knew you were flying. I hope so. I'm trying to keep this as smooth as possible. There's another pilot over there yonder. Give ourselves a little salute there. We can't see each other, but it doesn't matter. It's just symbolic. You got to do that. But this is a pretty sight now. We've come out the other side of this morbid tale, and now we're looking at positivity. And I hope the tale of this Titan submersible took your mind off the Sunday scaries in terms of whatever it is you've got tomorrow, whether it be work, whether it be college, university, kindergarten, whatever. There ain't no age limit on this goddamn stream. And I've got to give props to this little drone here that's kept up with the Ultimo Airways jetliner. Now then, since the story's pretty much over, we're gonna put this little beauty on a nice little boost of speed there. That's it. We're gonna pump on ahead now. We're gonna land this, hopefully, more smoothly than what happened last time, where we had a little malfunction there. A pretty rare malfunction in the airspace industry, where the actual aircraft just sort of locks up and stays static in the air. It does happen. You don't see it much, but it does happen, okay? It does happen. But we have got contingencies in place if that does happen again. But hopefully it won't. So we're just going to make our way here to the landing bit. Here's the island here. This is where the Titan submarine departed for its last journey after many failed attempts previously. And so one has to assume, following the disaster in June 2023, that the safety measures and regulations have now been tightened somewhat due to the Titan disaster. I'd like to think that there's these obvious red flags are more acutely interrogated now, so this can't happen again in the future. We don't have to get some unnecessary loss of life. And my advice to anybody who wants to see the Titanic, just go up on YouTube, search it up. There's plenty of footage there. And all it is just a big old piece of hunk of steel at the bottom of the ocean. It ain't now special. But I do realize that there's those in society that just want to feel like they've been there in person. Like all those who climb up Mount Everest. That I would argue now is more of a status symbol than it is an actual... than it is of some sort of epiphany, of some sort of revelationary experience. It's now about the status of doing it. And I suspect it was the same for the Titanic. So that y'all could say, I visited the Titanic. Rather than to gain any sort of spiritual meaning from it. Hell, maybe I'm just cynical, but that's my thoughts on it. And as you can see from this island, it's quite fragmented. Split into several smaller islands. We'll just smoothly make our way. And as we get closer, I'll actually be able to tell you the name of the destination to round up the story. Just make sure, just check a few things in the cockpit, make sure things on track, because I don't have a co-pilot at the moment. I just fly solo. So to summarize, the submarine, simply put, wasn't fit for purpose. Unlike this aircraft here, which is designed to the highest spec and is not in any way affiliated with Boeing, by the way, who are now in the gutter for cutting corners. This was designed by the best engineers in North America, I am assured. Okay, we're just going to slow it down a bit now just to So there's Bell Island. Welcome to the chat, Suna10. I hope you're well. You've just woke up as the flight's about to land. But please do feel free to watch on back. I will be uploading this to YouTube afterwards, where I believe the audience will be more potentially engaged in this type of content. Just gonna make our way. I've just had a little notification there that my better half has tried ringing me, but we can't answer calls while in flight. That is extremely unprofessional. So she's just gonna have to wait till I land this goddamn thing, just like everybody else. Okay, let's cut through these clouds and slow it down a little bit more. That's right, we don't answer phone calls here. Hell, I hope you passengers still got your cell phones on airplane mode, because if you ain't, then you're getting kicked off with a parachute. Here we go. So he's going to have to circle around a few times. Here we go. This is going to put my piloting tests to the limit because of the fog. So we're going to circle around, turn around, and we're going to land. Come hell or high water. It is extremely foggy, snowy, but this is why they pay me the good money, y'all. Because it ain't for my good looks, put it that way. A little close for comfort there. Just wanted y'all to put your heart rates up a little bit there. The fact of the matter is this. Motion sickness, I do apologize for that, Sooner. I do get a little bit of motion sickness myself when I'm a passenger. But of course, when you're a pilot, it doesn't kick in for some reason. When I'm on coaches especially, damn, I gotta take those anti-sickness tablets or I'm hurling like a some bitch. Okay, so just before we land this, I'm going to preview the next video of Flight Sophia. And all being well, put on your wrist. I've not heard of those. Any sickness? What kind of voodoo witchcraft is that? If it works, though. Okay. Here we go. It's going to be a rough old landing, ladies and gents. Here we go. Not quite on the runway, but it don't matter. It don't matter. Here we go. There we go. Right next to the facility. I can't get you any closer than that. I can't get you any closer than that. There you go. You just jump off. You jump off and you roll your ass in, and you can go straight through security. It's all good. It's all good. So, we'll shut the engine down. There ain't no pilot out there that can get you as close as I just did there. And that's what you get with Captain Crofto, Ultimo Airways. You get as close to your destination as any other airline. I don't want to hear about Ryanair. I don't want to hear about British Airways. I want to know about Ultimo Airways. I get you right to the destination, right up to the door. And that's what I do. Anyway, for the next Flight Sophia video, we're going to be looking at the Andes mountain disaster. And this is where we had a Uruguayan rugby team stranded in the mountains, in the Andes mountains. And how it got sinister. It got really sinister. But there's a lot of humanity there, a lot of heart, and in fact it's goddamn inspirational. So that'll be the next story. So until then, thank you very much, passengers. I hope you enjoyed the flight. Bit of a bumpy landing there. I do apologize. But if anything, that's woke you up now. I hope it got rid of your travel sickness too sooner. So, without further ado, I'm going to bid you all farewell. Thank you for watching Flight Sophia. Until next time, this is Captain Crofto.